Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you some tips and tricks on how I go about tattooing micro tattoos. Within this video, I'm going to be demonstrating with this little bee right here. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below and I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this. I want to start off by listing off the gear that I will be using here in this demonstration. I will be leaving my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you in the description below, as well as in a pinned comment in the comment section. Now, I am going to be using an Inkclaw. This is going to be a bug pen 3-round liner. We're going to be doing this little tattoo right here. I'm not sure if you can see it in comparison to my finger here. I'll give you a better comparison at the end of the video. I am going to be doing this tattoo on Reelskin fake skin along with Spirit stencil paper to place down these stencils. I did print them with the MHT thermal printer. I am going to be using the 20, 40, 60, 80% tones within the dynamic pre-made gray wash set. I'm also going to be using the Mast Archer 2 for this tattoo right here. So when it comes to using different tones, I'm going to start with the 20 and I'm going to kind of start mapping out the design, and then from there I'm going to add in all the darker places later. So typically I would start with the dark and then work my way to the light. For this demonstration, I'm going to start with the lighter areas and then kind of gradually build up from there. So where I'm going to begin is I'm going to begin with the 20%, which is the lightest tone that this dynamic pre-made gray wash set offers here. Forgive me for that there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the very tip of my needle into the ink cap. Now, when I say the very tip, I mean the part that's sticking out from the needle tube, not the tubing itself. And you can see I'm drawing up just a little bit of ink right there. Allow me to show you close up here. So when I say that, I mean just the actual very tip of the needle, and you can see that it pulls in micro amounts of ink here that we're going to use to apply this tattoo design. Now, the reason why I'm not putting the entire tube in there is because I want to prevent any sort of pulling from happening within this micro tattoo. And this is going to be the same approach that I use for any and every single micro tattoo that I do. I want micro amounts of ink within my tip tube there, and I want to apply this tattoo without pulling or minimal pulling. So much like every single design that I do, I'm going to begin from the bottom area and I'm going to work my way on up. So I'm probably going to start right here in this area and kind of work this way and then that way. I'm going to remove a bit of the ointment there, and I'm going to start with what I see. So I'm using the 20%, and all I'm doing is I'm just simply mapping out these areas very lightly with the tip of the needle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the darker tones here in a moment and then kind of go back and finalize everything. Just minimal trauma to the skin. We're just barely kind of brushing the top layers of the skin. So we haven't really broke the skin at this point. All I'm doing is just establishing these boundaries here, like so. So you can see I'm using whipping motions this way here. And I think for now I'm going to stay working with the 20 and 40%, as I could accomplish some darker tones with just these right here. So once I notice that I'm not getting smooth ink flow, I'm going to be mindful of that. So that way every time I'm depositing ink, I'm doing it purposefully. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same technique where I put the needle into the 20 and then kind of keep establishing this here. So you can see I'm just using small little motions to complete these areas, as I am using a very, very fine needle. So I want to be real precise with where I'm placing down the pigment, because this needle allows me to do so. You can see I'm just kind of brushing the top layers of the skin, and I'm achieving some saturation here. And then from here, I'm going to make sure that I have adequate ink flow, and then I'm going to repeat that over here on this side. So what I can start doing is I feel comfortable enough to start establishing these areas right here. And all I'm doing right now with this 20% is just essentially mapping out the design. I can use the 40, 60, and 80% to kind of finalize and add more depth, shading, wherever I see fit. All I'm doing right now is just mapping out this design. Just using the very tip of the needle to lay out the foundation so I don't have to worry about the stencil. Like so. Then right here is actually a part of this leg. So we're going to map that out right now. So you can see I'm just kind of gradually building up layers until I've accomplished a certain level of saturation. Then I move on, and I'm going to come back to these areas when I go to the darker tones. I don't want to jump to a darker tone right now, as I still have a ways to go to map out the design. So to jump from a darker tone down to a lighter tone, I'm going to contaminate the lighter tone. So that's why I'm staying on the 20% right now still. And then I'm going to repeat that right here. For this B with just simple up and down motions. Like so. And then I can go back over these with a darker tone here in a moment. I can't really exhaust that enough. This isn't the final read. It's going to be artistic preference. We can put the darker areas, the darker spots that we want in the darker areas, lighter and lighter shading. You get the idea. So all I'm doing right now is I'm gradually building up this B, and I'm heading towards this way. Now forgive me, I don't think I've mentioned I'm running at 5.5 volts right now. So that's the voltage that I am running with. I apologize for not mentioning that sooner. I'll be sure to kind of pin that down in the video earlier on so that way you know. And then I'm going to repeat over here with just building up this B right here. Just very, very tip of the needle. Just essentially brushing the very top layers of the skin. And as you can see, I'm not getting much pulling, or if any at all, really. And the same thing here. I'm just mapping out the legs of the bee. On the areas where I want it more saturated, I'll move a little bit slower, but I'm not really focused on saturation right now. What I am focused on is mapping out this design here. So I'm going to use sort of brush-like motions in this manner, as you see me doing here, to apply this bee's head right here. And then with the eye, I'm just going to simply apply it the same way I have been. Or actually, this is a little bit different. I'm actually kind of just putting that in there lightly like so. And again, I'm just working off the very tip of the needle. And the reason is because I want to be able to come back and work on these areas more once I've mapped out the design. So you can see a lot of the design is pretty much gone here. So from here, I'm going to have to use some of my artistic preference or abilities here, and let's use my imagination with this here. So that's that part of the body right here. There we go. And then from here, we're just going to continue building off this design. Same thing over here. I'm going to use little tallies to avoid any sort of hard lines, as I feel an organic textured sort of approach would be ideal for this bee. And you can see I'm using more hard lines on the wings right here. Still using the 20%, haven't changed that. All I'm wanting to do is just establish the boundary here. Now what I'm going to do is apply these little areas right here, and then we can clean it up and see what we're working with. So that is the overall foundation for this little bee design. This is a great place to be. I've mapped everything out. I'm not really worried about losing any sort of stencil anymore. From here on out, all I have to do is apply the darker areas where I want them, finish some shading and some textures, and then we can call it a day with this specific micro tattoo. Now, in terms of darker and lighter areas being placed, that's going to be fully subjective. But now I'm going to start moving on over into, well, actually I'm going to move back to the 20, and I'm just going to finish the little wing details, as I don't want those really dark, and any other areas that I want to finish here. So from this area, I'm going to kind of improvise, and I'm just going to brush this, and I'm purposely looking for these inconsistencies, as I kind of want to mimic that sort of bee wing there. How bee wings are not really perfect. So those inconsistencies are going to fit in well with this specific design. Some areas deeper than the others. As you can see, more organic lines. Like so. Very nice. Then I can kind of redefine these out here. And then now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start finalizing this design by essentially placing in the shading in darker areas. I do feel like when it comes to shading, less is going to be more for this specific design right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually stick with the 20 right now. And then from here I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of shading in the right areas that I feel would best pop. And this is all really trial and error. You can kind of find what best artistically suits your wants and needs. Just a little bit of shading up top like so. I'm going to follow the flow of the body as you see me doing here. Still running at 5.5 volts. I like the way that that looks. And I'm going to kind of repeat that over here, just adding a little bit of shading in this area. In fact, not too much at all. A little bit around here. Just a slight bit. There we go. And then from here, what I'm going to do is add some final shading within the wings. And I really think that it's going to start popping once I start adding all the dark details here. Just kind of reinforcing that there. And one more on the wing that I feel is going to be good. I'm actually going to leave like this negative space right there in the wing and just do some creative shading here. Even a little bit over the details, that's perfectly fine, I feel. Like so. And then from here what I'm going to do is now I can start dipping into the 40, 60, and 80 there. So I'm actually going to go to the 60. I'm going to skip the 40 for now. And then I'm going to add some back to this area by using the same technique and just little back and forth motions like so. As you can see, I'm navigating this way, making the shading there a little bit more prominent, and I'm going to repeat that with these other rows right here. Simple back and forth motions. Same thing right here. Very nice. And then from here what I can do is I'm just going to use this 60% that I have. So you can see I'm just going to do little tallies in spaced areas like so. You can see they're a lot more prominent than the other lines there. And then we can repeat that with the legs as well. Anything that we want more defined and prominent, we can now start putting that in there with the darker pigments here. Same thing with the eye right here. Still just brushing over the top layers of the skin. And then from this angle over here, I'm just going to add a little bit of shading with this 60 right here. Darken up these wings there, like so. I'm going to actually add that to this side too. You can kind of see I'm just finalizing everything here. And then now what I want to do is I want to grab some of the 80% and then kind of do some final details here. So this is the darkest tone. I'm just going to add tallies here. There we go. So connecting the entire body here. And then I'm going to repeat that with the head area. Like so. And then I'm going to add these little guys right here. I like the way that looks there. And now at this point, it's about discrepancy. Any last minute things that I want to do, any last choices I want to make, I can go ahead and do so. Like if I want to darken the area where this wing anchors down here, make the wings a little bit more prominent by putting the black line all the way through. Little things like that we can go ahead and do. And there we go. Now we have a little bee here. Here is a top view of this little bee design that we just did, and here is a needle cartridge next to it. You can see that this bee is significantly smaller than the cartridge. I can place my whole thumb over this little bee design that we did. I do like the textures. I like that we accomplished this saturation with the 80%. We didn't use anything greater than the 80, so it is possible to get some saturation going with 80% and below. The idea of this video is to take these basic fundamentals that I'm sharing with you and apply them on your end. Take what you would like and leave what you don't. Kind of fine tune and see what best fits your workflow for your tattooing wants and needs as a tattoo artist. So that'll be it for this one. I will go ahead and make more advanced videos for micro tattoos, but for now I'll go ahead and conclude the video at that. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I'm going to be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for tuning in. You have a great day.